Now here is the formula. Okay, so if you can see in the little InShot screen, I'm just going to pause till I get a better marker. Now let's start just by getting the formula out of the way. So the price index of a basket of goods for Laspeyre is equal to the sum of the price of the observation period, which is I'm thinking of as the current year, multiplied by the quantity of the base year. So let's say it's a P1, the index, sorry, I don't mean that, maybe that is why it's called an index number, but that little number 1 means a later year, the 0 means the base year that you're using. Okay, and that's divided by the sum of the price at the base year multiplied by the quantity of the base year. PASH is slightly different. It's a similar formula, but instead of the quantity of the base year above and below, you're going to be using the quantity of your current year above and below. So it's the sum of P1 by Q1 over the sum of P0 by Q1. Okay, we get that straight first. Let me just, I think that's okay, that size. So I'm going to demonstrate using the figures shown here the method so that people calm down a bit, and just video one of them. My fault for how I worded it, okay? I think we can all agree it's been a strange year, and we are, even though it's coming back to normal, I do think we mustn't forget that the background leading up to this still is having an impact. So that's what I'm doing here, and that's why I'm trying to support you across the finish line. So let me just pause here. Oops. Now all I've done is copied out the figures you see on the screen behind. Slightly different to the video, but you've got prices here. So if I put a euro all the way down, it's done in dollars. Let's make them euros. And we're not even interested in what A, B, and C are. There's some item in our basket of goods. And so the quantity, the price of A goes up and then down. The numbers being bought goes continuously up. Okay? Look at B. The price is going up continuously. The quantity is going up continuously. Number C, or item C, the price is going up and then down, and then the quantities are going up. So none of the quantities are actually going down here. They can go down. Okay? Not that I can see there at a glance. They're always going up. So say if I wanted to work out a Laspeyre index for this year, okay, what I would do is I would sum the current price multiplied by the base year's quantity and put that over the base year price multiplied by the base year quantity. So just take a look at what that looks like, okay? So just sort of flicking between them, you can kind of see them behind. Maybe if I move this over a bit. Oh, I can move it to the side and split the screen. Hang on, just give me a minute. So, sorry, that's not what I wanted to happen. Why is that not? Hang on a sec, I just need maybe to do that. And this. Okay. So let's just keep those figures there and look at what we're doing. Okay, we're looking at year 2. Year 2. Okay, this one here. So if I want the Laspeyre for year 2, all that is ever used is the cost of year 2 in the Laspeyre. So the cost is 7, 13, 24, A, B and C. You're going to use the quantities for year 1, or the base year. So it's 100, 200, 300, 100, 200 and 300. And underneath you're using the prices for the base year. So it's very simple, obviously, to work it out. We need Robert here. Just simple arithmetic. 6000. So pause till I just work that out. You can be working it out yourself. Now comparing what I did. Do you see here? Now when you divide there, you have to multiply by 100. I've just not written down the multiply by 100 bit. So that's the Laspeyre worked out. Now, what's the difference? The difference is that it's looking at the quantities of an earlier year. Okay, so it's a little bit unreliable because the actual cost of living to people might be worse, might be better, because they might be buying less of a certain thing, or there might be less demand. You know, that they mightn't be buying it in the same quantities. Okay, but it's hard to get current statistics, is what the PASH does. So it's almost like the Laspeyre is looking at today's goods, today's prices at yesterday's quantities, and PASH is looking at today's prices at today's quantities in relation to earlier prices. So let's do the PASH now. Just before I go, it's easy to calculate and commonly used, cheap to construct. Quantities for future years do not need to be calculated, only base year quantities are used. Presents a meaningful comparison as changes in the index are attributable to changes in price. So quantities for future years, so you don't have to do analysis where you have to try and predict what sales are going to be like in the future. The main disadvantage of this index is that it is upward biased and tends to overstate price increases compared to other price increases. Therefore, it tends to overestimate price levels and inflation. More expensive new goods can cause an upward bias in prices. Prices increases slowly due to quality improvements should not be considered inflation. Substituting goods or services that have become relatively cheaper for those that have become relatively more expensive. So it overstates price increases. Good for somebody, if it's for pay, say if they use the Laspeyre to calculate salary, it would be beneficial to the earner. Key takeaways: it's the most commonly used measure. Now you don't need to repeat any of that, but it's when you're looking at the question, think of what's happening. Is the price going up or down, and what's happening to the quantities in comparison? Okay, I'm going to stop that one and then do the PASH separately.